It is starting to get cold. Yesterday I dropped a couple of hay bales out here for these animals because I don't have any rain coming in for probably about 5, 6, 7 days. And even when it does rain, I don't think it's going to rain a whole lot. And so this morning I called the fertilizer co-op, and I got a price on urea, and urea right now is $540 a ton. And they have a buggy over there for me to borrow, that I could borrow for free. And so I'm gonna go ahead and get that buggy, and I'm gonna go and so I thought about, what am I gonna do? What's the big plan? What am I looking to accomplish? And right now I would say that here in about a week or so, I'm gonna take about 5 to 10 cattle over to the new property. I'm gonna take about 5 to 10 cattle over there, and I don't need the best grass on the entire planet. I don't need to, and I also got to consider the weather, right? There are a lot of things to consider. And when I take a look at the field over there, I think that what I am setting myself to do is I'm just gonna put urea on the field. I believe that it's somewhere between 10 and 15 acres that needs to be fertilized, and so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put about a tonnage of urea on that 15 acres. I'm gonna put about a tonnage of urea on it. And I sat there and I thought about it, and I was like, well, what do I think? What am I looking? When I take a look at the different variables, what do I come up with as the solution? And so, here are the various things that I considered. Because I had that y'all know that I had that geologist out there, and he did a reading of the soil, and found that I had zero groundwater down to past, I'd have to go past 1,000 feet to find groundwater. And so I'm really not at any risk of I've already talked about, in terms of a negatively charged fertilizer, nitrogen, nitrogen, not nitrogen. I don't remember the exact molecule. I think it's nitrate and ammonium and nitrate, I think is what it is. They're two different molecules, but they're both negatively charged, right? I talk about this all the time. In terms of a fertilizer, you have negatively charged fertilizer, and then you have positively charged fertilizer, and your soil is negatively charged. And so if you are going to apply a negatively charged fertilizer onto a field, the main mechanism for how that fertilizer gets into the field is it dissolves into the rainwater, it dissolves into the water, and it creates a solution, right? I talk about this all the time. It creates a solution, and then that solution is pushed through the ground because it repels off of the soil molecules, because the soil molecules are negatively charged. Right, I talk about this all the time. And in terms of and that's also why when when applying a positively charged fertilizer, you are going to have to physically displace that molecule into the soil. You are going to have to plow it into the soil. You're gonna have to do something so that you push the molecule into the soil, or you're gonna have to get a massive amount of rain. And and I'm talking about like 5, 6, 7 inches of rain, like 4 or 5 inches of rain in a week. And it's going to have to be over a set number of days. It's going to have to be raining a lot for a very long period of time, right? I've talked about this. Soil is like beef jerky, right? I've talked about this. Soil is like beef jerky. If you put water on a field, it's not going to instantly rehydrate the field. It will take a long time for that soil molecule to absorb that water. And the way that I described it is, like, imagine that you dropped beef jerky into a glass of water. It's not immediately going to rehydrate into meat, right? And so you're going to need a prolonged period of rain, and you're going to need a large amount of rain. And when I take a look at it, there are realistically only 1 to 2 opportunities a year when I can actually put positively charged fertilizer on the field, and I would anticipate that it actually sinks into the soil. All right, maybe 1 or 2 times a year. It's not something that you just go out and do all the time, and that's not how it works. All right, you're gonna have to either plow it, or you're gonna have to get a massive amount of rain over a very long period of time. And so I thought about these different variables. What am I looking to do? What am I looking to accomplish? And I got about 10 or 15 acres of grass out there that's already grass. Is it the highest quality grass? No, it's not the highest quality grass, but it's also not the lowest quality grass. And I do have new grass coming in, and so I took a look at the different variables. I don't have any groundwater down to about 1,000 feet, and then I also, I got to think about going up to the fertilizer co-op to get fertilizer is not exactly a that takes gas and that takes time. And so I was like, how much fertilizer do I want to put on my field? And I'm in the same situation over here, and I've actually talked about this, and I just recently thought about this because I was talking to the geologist. But in my area, Central Texas, you don't really see anybody with groundwater. All right, groundwater, it doesn't really, you don't really see it in this area. I mean, I've talked about this in terms of Central Texas. In terms of this area of Texas, what is the major benefits of a place like this? We have a massive cattle market. Our land is pretty cheap. Our land is cheap. We have a massive cattle market, and we have naturally good weather for growing grass. We have naturally good weather for running cattle. I mean, if you just want to put cattle on grass and you want to grow grass, you effectively can do it 9 to 10 months out of the year without any irrigation equipment. All right, and you don't need big silos and anything. You can grow the grass for about 9 to 10 months out of the year with the natural weather conditions. That's one of our major benefits. And another one of our major benefits is that we have a massive cattle market. Tens of thousands of cattle get sold every single week within a 1 hour circle of me, within a 2 hour circle of me. We probably sell on average somewhere between like 15 and 25,000 cattle a week within a 2 hour circle of me. There is a massive cattle market. But one of the other, a couple of the downsides of where I am is that the summer is usually blazing hot. We don't have any groundwater, right? Water is a major problem. And also, our cattle, I mean, it's not even really a problem. Our cattle are usually valued at below the market average. All right. And that's not really a bad thing. I mean, if I buy them cheaper, I'll sell them cheaper. If I sell them cheaper, I'll buy them cheaper. It doesn't really matter to me. I mean, we have a massive cattle market in the area. Our land is pretty cheap. Our soil grows grass, and our natural weather conditions grow grass for about 9 months out of the year. But in terms of in terms of one of the things that's like a negative, it's kind of difficult to deal with, is that we don't have hardly any groundwater. And if you don't have any groundwater, and you're still going to need water, so how are you going to accumulate that water, right? And so that's one of the big things that we got to deal with in the area. But also, if I don't have any groundwater past 1,000 feet, and I can almost, if I had a geologist out here, I mean, here's the thing, okay? There are thousands of acres of farmland within a 30-minute, hundreds of thousands of acres of farmland within a 1 hour circle of me. All right, if we had groundwater, if there was groundwater in the area, people would be irrigating their farmland. All right, I mean, there is no groundwater here. I mean, there is no groundwater. If we had groundwater, people would be using it. And so, I mean, in terms of like it's like once I know it's like we have no groundwater, I don't really have to worry about applying a very, very, very low concentration of nitrogen repeatedly throughout the I can actually increase my nitrogen dosage. The amount of nitrogen that I apply on my field every time I fertilize, I can actually increase that amount. And so I don't have to worry too much about damaging the groundwater, right? Polluting the aquifer. I don't have to worry about stuff like that because there is no groundwater. I mean, we don't have any groundwater. If we had groundwater, people would be using it. I mean, it costs like 15 grand to dig a well, and I mean, people would be using it, right? I mean, but we don't have any groundwater. And so, I don't have to really be, I was actually thinking about this morning because I was like, I'm going to go and fertilize my new field too. And the geologist was out there and took a look at it and said I have zero groundwater down to about 1,000 feet or more. And so I was like, it's probably the same for this field here. I probably have zero groundwater. And even if I have groundwater, it's not going to be like some massive aquifer that stretches for hundreds of thousands of acres. I mean, it's going to be a small pocket of water, right? I mean, and so it's not like I'm going to be polluting the aquifer. And the thing about the thing about nitrogen is that nitrogen, the soil bacteria actually eat it too. And so, like, if you put nitrogen on a field, and I've talked about this in terms of fertilizer, like the idea of fertilizer is that when you put fertilizer on a field, you do not just immediately obliterate your environment. That's not how it works, right? Fertilizer effectively, when you have fertilizer, you are, these molecules, they already exist, right? I've already talked about this. These molecules, they already exist. And another way to look at it is like the same calcium. It's like when you eat plant material, the reason that you effectively obtain calories, like when you eat an apple, or when you eat a salad, the reason that you are able to digest these things, other than the human anatomy portion of it, if all we're going to talk about in terms of plant material, I mean the same calcium that is in the same whatever carbohydrates that is in the fruit is also in your body, right? And I've talked about this, but plants, sugar is a carbohydrate, right? Sugar is a carbohydrate. And when you have a plant, that plant, effectively, the reason it is accumulating biomass like that is because it is obtaining minerals. It is literally absorbing minerals from the soil via its various mechanisms, right? I mean, solutions solutions that have been created from the dissolving of fertilizer molecules into the rainwater that go through the ground. You plowed a positively charged fertilizer into the soil, and as the plant grew, the roots actually physically came in contact with the soil molecule, or with the different minerals, etc., and there's also minerals in your soil that already exist, etc., right? And so when this plant accumulates these minerals, when a plant accumulates these minerals, the plants are green because they have a cell called the chloroplast, right? There's a unique cell. It's different from a human being, because plants are green because they have a cell called the chloroplast. And this chloroplast, what happens is when the sunlight goes through and there are many differences of cells. It's not just the chloroplast, right? I mean, the vacuole's another thing. The reason why plants turgor pressure in the vacuole, and etc., and there are a lot of different things. It's not just the chloroplast, but the chloroplast is one of the cells that are different in the plant than it is in a human being. And when the sunlight goes through the chloroplast, there's a reaction with the chloroplast, and the plant is actually able to make its own sugar. Right, like you as a human being, you're not able to make your own energy. I mean, technically you do make your own energy, but you have to eat food to do it, right? And so plants have to eat sunlight. If you want to think about it like that, if there is no sunlight, the plant cannot metabolize anything because there is no energy in the plant. All right, and so when the sunlight goes through the plant and it goes through the chloroplast cell, it will actually create a sugar. It will start a massive chain reaction, and the minerals that the plant has been accumulating via its root system, when the sugar is introduced into the formula, there is a massive chain reaction in the plant, and then the plant creates carbohydrates in many forms: starches, fructose, simple sugars, glucose, right? I'm pretty sure it's all of these different things, and then they store these different sugars in different portions of the plant. All right, so that's why, like, when you eat an apple, and you're able to accumulate calories, the reason is because the carbohydrates, etc. When you let's say you go and you eat something, like you drink milk, right? You drink milk, and the calcium, you get calcium. The same calcium that is in the milk is the same calcium that is in the soil. And it's also the same calcium that is being obtained by the plant via its root system. It's all the same. I mean, the same calcium that is in your bones right now is the same calcium that is in these rocks in the ground. All right, but you can't just eat soil, right? I mean, you can't just eat soil. I mean, I know that there are people that eat soil, but I mean, it's not really going to do anything for you, I don't think. Other than getting some very, very, very minuscule amount of, you're better off just eating vegetables and fruits. All right, you shouldn't sit there and eat soil. It's not that good of an idea. I mean, you're not really going to get much benefit out of it. You're better off just eating vegetables and fruit and meat and fish and etc. So but it's all the same thing, right? And but cattle can digest grass because they they have their internal digesting system is different than a human being, right? I mean, if you as a human being ate grass, you would starve to death. But cattle, they can put on a massive amount of weight by eating grass. You know, their rumen is effectively a large fermentation vat, right? They digest via fermentation, and so, you know, et cetera, and so but long story short, I'm not really concerned about damaging the environment, because I don't have any groundwater. I mean, and you know, even if I did have a small pocket of groundwater, it's not going to be some massively tens of thousands of acres, you know, hundreds of millions of billions, trillions, I don't know, gallons of water underneath me. So, and it's not like it's 50 feet below the ground. If I did have groundwater, it's going to be like 1,500 feet below me. And so I'm not worried about damaging the environment, because well, I'm not going to go, well, I mean, I am still, and I've talked about this, but in terms of damaging the environment, I mean, in terms of like a negatively charged fertilizer, what the things that you're, should be most concerned about, you know, or a couple of things that you should be very concerned about is damaging the groundwater beneath you. If you have groundwater under your field and it's pretty close to the soil and it's a very large amount of groundwater, you don't want to be, you want to be testing that groundwater to make sure you're not getting a whole bunch of, you know, leachate, you're not getting a whole bunch of nitrogen in that water, and et cetera. But also, you know, you also don't want to chemically bleach your soil. If you put too much fertilizer on your soil, you can actually chemically bleach your soil. And if you chemically bleach your soil, that turns into a major problem. You're not even going to be able to practically do anything for, on that field for probably a decade, you know, maybe 5 years until that fertilizer, depending on how bad the damage is. But you can actually cause a negative growth. You can actually, like, if I were to talk about this in terms of a graph, you can actually cause a negative biomass accumulation by over fertilizing a field. And a long story short is that you can actually damage your plant by over fertilizing your field. And so, you know, you have to learn how to strike a balance. You know, how much fertilizer do I want to use? I also want to I also want to create a good soil environment for the plants, right? I want the environment to be good for the plants. And you know, I want to accumulate biomass on my field, right? I mean, you don't want to put fertilizer on a field and then cause a negative biomass accumulation. You don't want to damage your field, right? And so, you know, you have to think about these various things. How much is it going to cost? You know, what kind of return am I going to get? What's the natural weather going to be like, et cetera, right? There are many things to consider, right? I mean, there is no easy, and I've already talked about this, but if it was easy, everybody would be doing it, all right? It's not easy, and if I told you it was easy, I would be lying. All right, when it comes to farming, it is legitimately going to be the most difficult thing. And it's like, you know, if you want to, go and figure this out for yourself, if you think I'm lying, go and find out for yourself. I'm not just saying these things because, I just decided to pull them out my rear end one day. You know, this is all stuff that I had to, it's like as I went through things and as I was practicing and I encountered these different problems. And then, I learned about them, and, I found out the solution, why it was happening, et cetera, And then, this is the accumulation that I have this is the information that I have accumulated over like the last 15 years of my life, working on farming every single day. All right. And so, and if you don't believe me, here's the thing. It's like, and if you don't believe me, go and find out for yourself. All right. I mean, keep that poorness to yourself. I mean, I don't know what you want me to say. I mean, if you actually go out and you find somebody who knows what they're doing, everybody's doing everything the exact same way. All right. I mean, people that are on the very, 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 very top end of the farming world, everybody's doing the same way. Everybody's effectively doing the same thing. Go and watch like, this is a very good example. Go and watch a man who runs a very successful, very high-end dairy. Take a look at their farm. Like go and find somebody who actually knows what they're doing, and they're doing very well. I've always said you should consider the results. In terms of a broader reality, results are important, but progress is far more important, but results are still important. Find somebody who actually knows what they're doing. They're very successful, and then see what they do, right? I mean, they got all of these various computers when they, they got these animals, put on all of these different health systems, and, they're growing their own grass, and when they grow their grass, they're looking to meet certain metrics for the feed values of the grass. And go and watch somebody like that. And when you listen to me do this, you have to understand that me, in terms of skill level, in terms of like if I were to just be effectively entirely on my own, like if I was put on a bus and I was just driven into the middle of Central Texas by myself with nothing, with $0, I could effectively make myself $1 million in a year, no problem. That's my big niche, right? Do I know how to use the most technologically advanced cattle equipment on the planet? No, I don't. Right? I mean, there are people who are legitimately smart. They are legitimately very intelligent, and they're making these systems, and they're collecting all this data, and they're working on AI is a very real thing as of right now. AI is a very real thing, right? I mean, they're working on these systems that can notice different things, and they'll do all of these machines, but do I know how to really do that? No, I don't. I mean, would I love to learn how to do that stuff? Sure. I mean, that'd be cool. I mean, I would love to have access to that equipment and stuff, and that would be cool, right? But I mean, me, in terms of my niche, in terms of what it is that I am able to do, my skill level is very high. That's the thing about me, is that my skill level is very high. In terms of like being a capable farmer, it's like, I could legitimately take this guy anywhere into the middle of Central Texas by himself with $0, and he is effectively so good at farming, he can just start, he will make himself $1 million in a year, no problem. Even if he started with nothing, it would be no problem. That's my big benefit. I mean, do I know how to use like a multi-billion dollar, cattle, system? No, I don't. All right, like, do I know how to, create AI software that can, no, I don't know how to do that stuff, right? I mean, I don't know how to work the computers and et cetera, et cetera. Would I love to use that equipment? Sure, I would love to use that equipment. I mean, I would have to learn how to use it, and I think it would be cool. But do I do that stuff? No. I mean, it's just me on the field. I've already talked about this, but my business is just me. All right, I don't have like a little minions that come running out here to help me, as soon as I turn off the camera. It's just me. I go and buy my own cattle. I grow my own grass. I run my own business. I don't have I don't have hundreds of millions of dollars worth of equipment. It's just me, and I run my cattle by myself. I grow my grass by myself. I run my business by myself. I mean, yeah, I am looking to get myself an accountant, right? And so, et cetera. But I mean, effectively, almost everything gets done by me. And I've talked about this in terms of a broader idea. The big thing about my business is that, in terms of my business, my business effectively lives and dies with me. And so, that's one of the things that I've taken a look at. And I've actually, this is a good time to talk about this, but I was talking about that, I'm going to start having money run out the funnel, right? I've talked about this. I talked about the investment funnel, right? The investment funnel is a multi-stage funnel. And at the very end of the funnel, money just comes out the funnel, and then I pay taxes on it, and then I can buy whatever I want. And I actually predict that this is going to start happening in a substantial fashion within about maybe about 2.5 months, 3 months. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to get ahead of the situation. And I was talking about this, but I'm going to start writing myself a W-2. And this will also help me for my business purposes, and this will also help me for my tax purposes. And so, and I guess this is a good time to, this is just a good informational bit about business. In terms of the business side of things, I'm going to start writing myself a W-2. I'm just going to give myself a salary of $3,000 a month. And the $3,000 a month is effectively money that I'm just giving myself, and I'm going to pay taxes on it. And then I can buy whatever I want. And whatever I want. If I want to go and buy a Corvette Stingray, and I want to, whatever. If I want to go and buy myself a house, whatever it is that I want, I can buy it with that W-2 money. And the reason that I'm going to do that is because, for tax purposes, if I give myself a salary, and then I whatever, right, have 10 because I'm still gonna have a substantial amount of money left over in my business account. It doesn't matter. And so my business account, anything that I have in terms of a business expense, I can just take it out of my business account anyway. there, I don't, and so I can just take business expenses out of my business account. I am gonna go and get myself a tax lawyer and a CPA. I'm gonna do that next year too. We're 1 month away from 2025. I'm gonna go ahead and get myself a CPA and a tax lawyer, and they're gonna help me plan my taxes. And I'm gonna start writing myself a W-2. And the reason I'm going to start writing myself a W-2 is because I foresee that I'm going to have a large amount of money in the funnel, and there's going to be money coming out the bottom. And so I'm just going to front run the problem and start writing myself a W-2 for $3,000 a month right now. I'm just going to give myself a salary of 36 grand a year. And then the reason that I'm going to do that is because all of my business expenses can come out of my business account anyway. There's going to be a substantial amount of money in the business account. And, at the end of the day, if I really felt like I wanted to, take my my salary and buy more cattle, I can still do that anyway. It doesn't matter, right? I mean, if I give myself a W-2 for $3,000 a month, and I'm like, oh, but I mean, here's the thing. This is where it gets kind of whatever, right? I still anticipate. I would anticipate that in my business account, I still have about $10,000 a month left over. That's what I think my net profits are going to be. It might even be a little bit more. And so I think my net profits are going to be somewhere around 10 to 15 grand, even after I give myself it's going to be around 10 grand is what I would anticipate, even after I give myself a W-2. And so I was like, I'm just going to go ahead and give myself a W-2, because then I can just pay taxes on the money. And once I pay taxes on the money, I can spend it on whatever I want. Right? And so, I'm gonna go and I can just buy whatever I want. If I want to go and buy myself a Corvette Stingray, I'll go and buy myself a Corvette Stingray. If I want to buy myself a house, I'll buy myself a house. And at the end of the day, if I want to take that money and I want to go and buy myself more cattle, I can still do that. It's still just money. And so, and I was, but the amount of money that, I would still anticipate that I have about $10,000 a month left over in my business account. All right, that's what I would anticipate. And so, it's going to be a substantial amount of money. And I was talking about this yesterday. But the goal as of right now is to just make as much money as I can. Right? I mean, that's the big idea. I'm going to generate as much money as I can. And things right now, I'm actually when I think about it, I'm on my last about as of right now. But the thing is, I don't really have money that needs to go anywhere. Yeah, I do need to use about $800 tomorrow to buy fertilizer. But at the end of the day, I'm probably, I would say that I'm on my last about $15,000. I'm on my last 15 grand, and I don't really have any substantial amount of money coming in until February. And so but I'm not I just told myself I'm a broke person. Right now I'm broke, but I'm not poor. All right, I only have about $15,000 left. I have to use about $1,000 tomorrow, and that effectively leaves me with about 14 grand. And so until about February. And so I was like, I still have, if I have whatever I need to go and buy something or whatever, right, I need, I still have I have about $14,000 left, and that money needs to last me until February. In terms of excess money, so if I have like I need to go into do whatever, then I can still do it. All right, let's say I have an emergency and it costs me 3 grand, I can go and do it. All right, I have $14,000 of excess money left, and that's it. But in reality, what I want to do with the money is I want to buy more cattle. All right, that's what I want to do. But I'm not going to do that right now because that money, if I have an emergency between now and February, that money needs to cover that emergency. And so yeah, I'm on about my last 14,000, about my last 15,000, but I have to use about $1,000 tomorrow. So I'm on effectively my last 14 grand, and that 14 grand needs to last me until February. I was taking a look at my financials this morning, and I want to take that money and I want to go and buy cattle with it, but I'm not going to do that until I get closer to February. Because if I lose my 14 grand and then I have an emergency, then that's kind of a big problem, right? I mean, I don't want to be in a situation where it's like whatever, right? I slipped and I broke my leg, and now I have no money, right? I mean, I don't want to be in that situation. And so I was like, I'm gonna hold on to my last 14 grand, and I really want to buy cattle with it, but I'm not gonna do that right now. But as I get closer to February, I'll start buying more cattle. And so but that's it for me today, YouTube. Y'all have a good one.